More Mobile Yoga presents Shoulder Work. This is a quick video to walk you through everything you need to know for some simple exercises to help mobilize your shoulder. My name's Ken, and I'll be walking you through with some color commentary. So some equipment you're going to need are some socks, a chair, gliding exercise discs, and some yoga blocks. Here we go. We're going to get ourselves in a nice comfortable seated position. Get right into this with some shoulder cars. These are some controlled articular rotations. And I'm using the sock and gripping it with about 50% of my grip strength. Not too strong, not too soft, just enough to get a good squeeze with my hand as I complete the full rotation. Now, we are rotating the shoulder in the socket while we complete a full-size circle going around. We want to explore that range of motion by pushing ourselves a little bit further than we're used to. Maybe we're entering some angles that we're not accustomed to. Maybe we're turning our shoulder in a way that we're not used to doing, or maybe we never really paid that close attention to our shoulder, especially when we get to the rear side of movement, right? When you're reaching back, sometimes you're digging into some muscle tissue that could really use some activity. So switching arms, we're doing 3 full rotations. Now as you're reaching up and over, you complete an internal rotation of the shoulder as you're reaching back. And then you're externally rotating as you rise up. You want to keep the shoulder tight in the socket. Make sure your spine is straight too. You can take your hand and put it over your belly, and this will help you control your abdominal wall, which can help keep your spine straight. We don't want to lean over too much. We actually don't want to lean over at all because we want to isolate and rotate the shoulder that we're working on. So this is a very patient but very effective way to dig into activating muscle tissue, especially at angles when you're reaching back and have to rotate. But that's why it's so good, right? You got to activate muscle tissue that does not get the movement it needs. All right, great job. So we'll move on to the next exercise. We're going to be using the sock once again, but this time we'll be doing some controlled articular rotations from a tabletop position. All right, so we'll be reaching back and getting that full rotational capacity in place. All right, now you want to explore, give yourself some room to learn how to move from this different angle and reach up and over. Keep that sock with a medium grip. And now start to discipline the movement. Here I'm keeping my shoulder flatter towards the floor, trying not to lift the shoulder up too high. The first 2 reps I was definitely reaching up a little bit higher, but really you want to control the movement and isolate it so the shoulder has to put in all of the work. Then we switch sides. Keep that shoulder tight in the socket. Activate muscles deep inside the basically the area between the shoulder blade and the spine. You want to really activate those when you're reaching back and reaching up and over. And furthermore, they help to anchor your overhead mobility. So the shoulder has a lot of moving parts that we want to develop in order to increase our rotational capacity. All right, hang in there, keep up with the work. Okay, and this video is meant to walk you through many different techniques in a quick video, but you're free to pause anything if you need to come back and work on it some more. Okay, so we're digging into that rear shoulder extension and we're going to be rotating and isolating. We want to keep our back straight and fully engage here now. This is a tender area for most folks. That's why I'm highlighting it, because in our normal day-to-day life, we don't necessarily get to fire up this capacity, but it can be a cause of some shoulder discomfort if we're not carefully managing all aspects of movement. So we're reaching back, we're locking out the tricep, and we're focusing on making the shoulder rotate in the socket through the full range of motion. Now, I'm gently rotating the elbow as well and reaching all the way through to help stimulate as much rotation deeper into the shoulder socket. And we're showing you some different angles here just to watch which direction this can work from. Okay, so be ready to self-correct whenever you're working. As you're digging into your movements, you might notice that you're leaning a little bit too far forward, so catch yourself and push yourself back, right? Rarely do we ever go into things perfectly. The idea of mobility training is that you're giving yourself a chance to explore and self-correct yourself as you learn how to optimize your movements. So maybe the first few reps are a little bit like warm-up reps, and then you figure out how to build a strong foundation to make perfect reps. Okay, so give yourself some chance to explore and learn how your body reacts to the stimuli presented. All right, so here we go with setting up in tabletop, and we're working on rotating the shoulders and digging into the scapula, or the scapulae. That's the plural form of shoulder blades, right? Basically, those shoulder blades behind you have a lot of the muscular capacity that's required to articulate a complete rotation. So I'm basically flattening out, then pulling back, and then lifting upward towards my neck. And when I'm squeezing together there, I'm pretending like I have a pencil between my shoulder blades, and I'm trying to squeeze them together as I rotate through the socket's full capacity. So really squeezing those shoulder blades together creates a tremendous stimulation. And then when you push outward, right, the shoulder blades flap downward and spread apart. So there's distinctive capacities in the shoulder to extend or pull back, basically. All right, so then we get into some variations from laying on your belly, okay? And we're gonna gently push up. This is a variation on low cobra, which is a very common yoga posture. This is a variation on it though, so it's really just here to help us build a foundation for some shoulder work. But I'm really squeezing my shoulder blades together here as I push backwards and push up. Once I set up that position, I'm putting pressure into the shoulders to help suspend this position. And then drifting back down. I'm still squeezing those shoulder blades together in general. I'm still pushing back on them, squeezing that space together, and then pushing up and squeezing those shoulders together, and then setting up to explore some more movement. Start to rotate in the socket and observe how your body reacts to the pressure. Maybe this move is very easy for you, maybe it's very complicated for you, but it should give you some feedback to understand how you can manage this position and also stimulate some of your upper back. And it gives you a chance to feel how you can extend and pull the shoulder blades together at the same time. Keep weight in your legs, peel yourself back down to the floor, and relax and enjoy your stretch. All right, that's what we're here to do. Explore, learn, and get stronger, but it should feel good. So here comes the chair. Getting a chair all set up for ourselves. We're going to use this chair to help us maximize our stretch and add some angle. So we have a place to set up with elevated hands. Now, what's important to do here is make sure your knees and legs are set up in a way that can help you drop in to this posture. And when you first try to feel your way through, just stretch a little bit and feel how your legs set up and feel how far down you can drift into the stretch, and then pull yourself back up. Now start to apply some downward pressure into your hands and start to fire up the muscle tissue deep around your scapula, your shoulder blade area, and start to pull the shoulder blades together as you gently push downward into your your hands. That's going to create pressure going down your arms and into your shoulder blades. Now start squeezing those shoulder blades together. Imagine you have a pencil in between those shoulder blades, and you're pulling them down. Now lift yourself back up, relax. Okay, remember, you can always change your angulation. Okay, you can do a little bit of a closer setup, and it might feel like a little bit less intense stretch in your shoulder. And then if you back your legs up further, it's going to give you more room to go into a deeper stretch where you can really bring your upper spine into the stretch, and your shoulder blades are really going to feel its fullness and overhead extension. All the while you're driving your hands downward into the chair. So that's a strong stretch. All right, let's get into some of these gliding exercise discs. Okay, if you got a pair, found these really inexpensive at a local store, and they're really handy, especially when you're getting into exploring some rotational capacities in the shoulder. So we're sitting in child's pose. All right, so you're gonna need some hip mobility to manage this posture. If you're looking to learn more about hip mobility, I can definitely help you with some separate content on hip movement, but for this video, we're focused on setting up for shoulder movement. So we're gently folding over into an overhead mobility position, and we're driving our hands downward into the floor and exploring some movement in and out of overhead setup. And I'm flattening my chest to the floor, and I'm putting a lot of downward pressure into my hands. So again, we're creating that pressure, we're stretching, and we're flexing the muscle tissue from a stretch position, which is really powerful to develop movement in the joint. All right, and that's a wrap. But yeah, super handy, super helpful movement. All right, now we're going to be working on internal and external rotations of the shoulder while squeezing a sock. You create that downward pressure onto the wrist, the forearm. Okay, so you got muscle pushing against muscle, and you're giving yourself a chance to explore that capacity. Now, you might not be able to fold the arm all the way down to the floor from this position, so you want to find an optimized placement where your arm can just create some pressure. All right, so now we're going the opposite direction. We're folding downward. We're using the other hand to counter pressure around the wrist forearm region. When we're squeezing down on that sock, not too hard, not too soft, but we want to create some pressure in the hand to generate some more muscular control, fire up that central nervous system. And now we're going full rotation here. We're just trying to do it entirely under control with the muscle in that shoulder, and can't quite touch the ground on each side. It's close, but it's got a long way to go still. So we're squeezing with that sock through the range. Now we're switching sides. And get yourself set up. Apply some of that downward pressure. Okay, and you can set up a yoga block on the side of your head if you need it. Maybe a little pillow, and focus on achieving greater range of motion. Right, we're trying to keep that arm flat to the floor. You're going to feel a little bit of a pinching sensation. All right, and this video is just really to help walk you through some of the stuff we've been doing in class, because we do cover a lot and it goes very quickly. So put this video to be about 19-20 minutes long, and that way you can hop in, check out some of the movements you need to work on, and you can always pause the video and focus on more movements individually, or you can skip through and find what it is you're looking for. So hope this video can help you. And we're just finishing up the rotations on that shoulder. All right, here come the yoga blocks. So we're gonna be doing some elevated hand placement. So I'm setting up and getting these blocks in like a push-up pose. But what I'm doing is I'm using fists. I'm going to push down into the yoga block while I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together. Okay, so I'm really trying to put a deep stretch into that space, and I'm putting downward pressure into those fists. It's a lot of isometric pressure here, a lot of squeezing, a lot of pressing, a lot of pushing, and you get a lot of stretch in the upper chest area, but you're really trying to make sure that you're squeezing those shoulders together. And then just adding a little push-up action just to see how it feels. Right? Give yourself a chance to explore these movements. And I'm just going to drop myself back in. Sit in that stretch for as long as you need. All right? You want to teach your muscle tissue to have some greater capacity. Capacity, more strength, recruitment of more muscle tissues and fibers. Basically what you need. All right? Explore those motions. Great, so now we're going to get into some nitty-gritty movements here. We're setting up the yoga block. We got the sock, and I'm getting my elbow over the top of that yoga block, and I'm flattening the rest of my body out on the floor. And I want to start rotating that shoulder. And I'm going to get a little bit better at it with every rep I take, isolating the exact micro movements that are necessary to create this rotation. Okay, this is a great movement for throwing. You know, if you're a pitcher, baseball player, any kind of athlete that's throwing, like a quarterback, you need to pull that object back to generate the force to throw forward. Right, it's the setup of the throwing process. So the better we can isolate and rotate this small muscle space, the stronger and better we're going to recruit muscle fibers to throw. And we of course want to get both arms and on the action. All right, so we're switching up here, and where you want to get that elbow in just the right spot, feel a good stretch on your chest and the shoulders reaching back, and then work on just generating that rotation. First couple reps might not be perfect, but you want to give yourself some room to learn how to reach as far as you can and then push against that invisible ceiling, that invisible wall behind you, and try to battle for that small space to increase muscular capacity. You can do it. All right, more yoga block action. This is going to be another elevated foundation, and we're going into down dog. We're actually going into a plank, and then we're going to move into down dog, but the elevated hand placement is going to change the pressure. It's going to change our weight distribution, and it might be a nice way for you to variate positioning here, especially when you're trying to explore your shoulder capacity. And hopefully by now it's nice and warmed up after digging into all the stretches we've already done, and you can finish off this video with a nice deep down dog from elevated hand positioning. Okay, so you want to make sure those yoga blocks are nice and stable and they're even, and you're digging down deep into the shoulder extension overhead. Go into that plank and then push yourself back up again. You're going to get a nice, real strong muscle building exercise here. While you're doing that, you're really pinpointing on how to best utilize the tension in your shoulder. All right, so get a little rotation in there, and then right from your tippy toes, you're just taking on that posture. So keep up the great work. You can do it. Down dog variations. All right, thanks so much for joining the show. That's been a quick video from me to help my clients pursue their shoulder mobility goals. My name's Ken. You can email me at moremobileyoga@gmail.com. Find me on Instagram, Facebook. Look up hashtag moremobileyoga or anti-chair training. Thanks so much and have a great day.